All right, good evening. Today is Monday, January 28th, 2019. Welcome to the Sweet Talk. I am your host, Kim Mattina. I am a Google certified trainer and a gold product expert in the G Suite for Education Help Forum, or Google for Education Help Forum, CS First Forum, and the Jamboard Forum. And I am still celebrating my 1 year anniversary of the Sweet Talk. I'm really super excited about it. I really can't believe that this show's gone a year. It's far exceeded my expectations, and I'm so happy that I'm able to learn from my guests and help others. So help me pay it forward and keep watching, because I'm really having a blast with this. So anyway, I have on the show tonight Lynda Moore. She's from Georgia, and she is a high school math teacher, and she's been teaching for 29 years, and she brings to the table a lot of experience. And I'm really happy for her to be on. She's going to be talking about Google tools and how she uses Gifs and Google Forms in her math classroom. So welcome, Lynda. Thank you
Thank
for being
you.
on today.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, please. I can't wait to see your workflow. Like I was telling you before, a lot of math teachers, they don't digitize their workflow because, they feel like students have to show their work and they have to use the traditional methods of teaching math. And, it's really not true anymore. You can do a blended experience for your students. And I'm really happy to have you on so that I can learn from you and see how you incorporate a technology workflow into your classroom. I know you're high school level, so your students, should have a better understanding of how to use Google for Education and G Suite, but you could never assume that. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I'm really happy that you're on, and please share, because I think it's
Okay.
going to be very
So,
helpful.
as I was listening to you talk, one of the reasons that I actually started doing this is I was reading, my internet was a World Book encyclopedia on a shelf, and it was outdated before we could ever do anything. And I'm competing with students who have Google in their pocket. So I decided to change things around, and the live data that my students are doing is pretty exciting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay with you. Um,
Yes, please do.
okay. Can you see it?
No, I still see you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So I'm just gonna start with one of the lessons, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger so that you can see it. But again, like you said, Kathy, I'm in Georgia. So I have my textbook link right here. And it's not the whole textbook, but it's only the section that my students need to know. So instead of carrying around a book, they have the textbook link. And I actually have that in Google Slides. So we have a textbook agreement. We've paid for it. I have my standard, my learning target, and then I'm trying to build self-directed learners. So I created the 3 questions before me so that my students can use all of these things to help them before they just need to know if it's right or not. So what they do is they just move the red checks over, and it's real easy in Google Classroom that I can see where they are with that. And then I made a legend, and this is basically for parents because they will look in Google Classroom and they won't really understand all of the different icons. So we have Drive. Drive means that you click on it, it saves a copy of whatever I need for them to study. We have a Ticket for Understanding. We have all these different parts of the classroom. And when I finish, Kathy, I'll send a link for people to be able to look at this a little bit slower. I use Flippity for vocabulary, so this is a Flippity link. I give my students examples, and I actually work these on the board. Now, these are just real simple, 1 question per slide, and I also give them one thing that I don't actually have pulled up is Google Classroom, but I actually screencastify the teacher time so that if a student is absent, then then they can watch it and kind of catch up. In the U-Try, after I've taught, my direct instruction is about 20 minutes. And after that, I have done something called Teacher Time U-Try. So when you look at this, I want to just show you real quickly. It's one question after I've taught my students. And if they get it right, the Google form sends them on. If they miss the question, it is a actually, let me go here. It's a branched Google form. So if they miss the question, it asks them to watch a quick little video, and then it gives them another question. My computer's slow, but it gives them a question, it gives them a video, and then it gives them another question. So this is one of the ways that I use live data in my classroom, because with 35 students in a class, most of them, after I've taught it, can move right along. And then my time is spent with those students that struggle a little bit more than the others, if that makes sense. And then
I love this. I love this.
Okay.
Keep
So the U-Try, it's really been a crowd favorite because my students need that immediate, yes, I've gotten it right. And I teach all levels of high school geometry. And my honor students often, they're scared of not making an A. So they, of course, want to make sure that they've gotten it before they actually get a grade. So the live data one right here with the teacher time is not a grade, but it tells the students whether they've gotten it right or not. And then I created, I have my students for 90 minutes, so I have to give them a little bit of talk time. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. And I've created something called Thinkpairshare. So what I've done is I've asked them to move this green oval to the correct multiple choice question. And that's kind of like a level 1, level 2 question. And I did the green so that in Google Classroom, I can look to see who's getting it right pretty quickly. And then I give them 6 minutes to have a conversation with their table mates, and they do like a level 3 or level 4 question, and it's not multiple choice. And so they actually have to complete and put the answer right there. And then this is kind of something that they really enjoy because it gives them an opportunity to share and talk about the content. And then as I'm teaching the lesson, sometimes I give them, with vocabulary, or I ask them to explore a website, and then they can fill in the correct, what is the x-axis reflection, the y-axis, and y equals x. And then I get to a slide where I want them, the information that's on this slide is really what they need to kind of memorize. So what you'll notice is I have the Google Drive icon, and what that means is that will make a copy of just this slide for them. And the reason that I choose to do that is because my students sleep with their cell phones. So if I can get them to look at just that one slide every night before they go to sleep during this unit, they'll remember some of those things. And then I've given them a practice problem. And then this is one of the most exciting things that I've really enjoyed. This is kind of a middle of the road problem for my students, the reflection of y equals x. And if you click on my Bitmoji, what will happen is this gift file that I've already got open will play. So what I've done is, and you'll notice that I'm not doing anything with the mouse, but what I've done is, without volume, I'm showing my students exactly what to do to solve that problem. So after the teacher time in my class, I play this on my Promethean board, but also my students can watch it at any time during the lesson. And that really helps them. So like if they get stuck, because Kathy, I don't know if you love math or not, but one of the worst things is being stuck on a math problem and not knowing the next step.
Yeah, I like math. I don't love it, but I like math. I can deal with math, but because as a child, I wasn't good in math. I struggled. So that's why I think it's really important to implement technology, especially
Right.
in math. But in this example here that you're showcasing that slide, that's a GIF.
It is. It is. And so I just, it's a separate, in fact, I can show you real quickly. It's just a separate GIF file that I can, it's just a series of slides, and I just am in Google Slides. And as soon as it'll open, my internet seems to be slow tonight. As soon as, so what I do is I create the complete slide deck, and sometimes the slide deck is pretty lengthy depending on how well, hold on just a second. It's loading, so it's going to take a second. Okay. So this one is 48 slides. And so what I do is I literally just take it to where I'm just doing one step per slide, and then I just publish to the web, and of course it makes a link. Which is one of my favorite Google tools ever, because it's so amazing that I can show my students how to do the problem and they can watch it over and over.
I gotcha. So you're using Google Slides as a GIF.
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's a good little trick there. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were using like a GIF animator or something,
Oh,
but
no.
that actually gives you more. That
Right. I
gives you
probably
much
could.
in displaying, yeah, your graph or your explanation, because you're not limited to a certain amount of time.
Right. And the other thing is, if I want
I
the
like that.
GIF to stay a little longer, I just duplicate the slide and it doubles the amount of time. So, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. If I just use the arrow keys, it's probably not working. But you can see that it's not working. So anyway, so if we go back here, you can just see that it plays. My internet is really slow for some reason. So it's struggling a little bit, but I just make it in Google Slides. And I actually just learned recently about this little trick. And I'm telling you, I do exit surveys for my high school students, and I love to hear their comments to me after we finished our class, so there's no repercussions or anything like that. And this is one of a crowd favorite for them. They love to be able to do this. And I also should tell you real quickly that one of the other things that I do, and I'm not sure if I can show you this real fast, but one of the other things that I do is I put all of those together in a menu. So I do when I'm getting ready to review for my test, you'll notice that for my Unit 1 test, for example, translations, reflections, rotations, these are the topics that are on my test. And when you click on that, that's actually the GIF file to show them how to make a reflection. So it's really cool that I can kind of pull it together, and they don't have to hunt in Google Classroom for all the examples.
Do you put this in Google Classroom for them?
I do. Yes, ma'am. I do.
So you really, I am really impressed. Like that you really took everything and
Well, hold on.
incorporated it into technology.
Right. I really I did this paperlessly for a little while, and now I've given my students a way for a little bit of guided notes. But the other thing that's really the thing that my students love so much is we go straight from this slide where I give them the answer to now they have this, and you'll notice the little pencil icon. So what I've asked them to do is do a problem that's similar to this, where I gave them the correct response and they can learn from that. And now I'm going to ask them that they actually open this Google form and answer the question. And of course, the reason I choose a Google form is because it's that immediate response. They don't have to wait for me to come over and check it. And so again, this is a branched Google form, which means that if they get this question right, they move right along. If they miss this question, I offer them some kind of help, either a video or a slide to kind of show them the process of it. So that's live data number 3. So we've got teacher time. That's live data number 2. So we've got teacher time, and then we've got the student you try is what I call this. And remember that one of the great things about Google is I'm collecting data for my students to see their growth, which is really great, because if I can see that they miss this and then they get the very next one right, I know that they've learned, which is really exciting. And then I go through, I have a couple more examples. And then I have embedded videos as well, some that I've done, some that I've taken from YouTube. And then I've actually asked them to create the rules for these, just like, remember on the Google Drive, I asked them to remember the rule. So they're going to look at that Google Drive slide and be able to create their own rule. And then on my state test in Georgia, for my EOC for geometry, we have drag and drops. And so in each one of my lessons, I have created a drag and drop. So what I want my students to be able to do is just move this over to wherever it goes. And again, I really like the benefit of Google Classroom, being able to see the slides as we go through. I can see all of the drag and drops on one screen, which is really cool, because then I know whether they're understanding it or not. And then I get to my ticket for understanding. Now, everything that I've shown you in my Google Classroom, my students are free to open anywhere they want, anywhere they, at home, on the bus, wherever they have internet. But this is the one piece that they have to do in my class. And this this ticket for understanding is really just a Google form that self-grades that, if it'll load, my geometry test has constructed response questions on my state test. So I have 5 questions, and I have 4 multiple choice questions, and then I have one where it's a short answer question. And then one of the coolest things that I've learned to do is high school students, I love them, and I've taught them for 29 years, but sometimes they're a little jaded when they see a bad grade. So embedded in each one of my tickets for understanding, I ask my students before they see their grade how they feel on the lesson. Because sometimes if they don't do well, then they want to put some blame on somebody. So I ask them how they feel about it before their ticket is graded. And then I ask them if there are any other questions. And that's the second piece that I watch as it comes into my class. So if a student has a question, if they don't want to raise their hand to ask me the question, I will, as we're just having a class discussion, I'll be able to answer their question. And nobody will know that Kathy asked the question, which is kind of good for high school students. So I really like my ticket for understanding and this little quick self-assessment. It's just you pick 1, 2, or 3, and then if you have questions or if you don't have questions. And then I move to my work session. Now, traditionally, I think most of the schools in the country are going to this, but in my school in Burke County, Georgia, we don't really endorse homework so much. So I give my students practice, and they're free to do it at home, but nothing has to be done at home. So here I'm giving my students a choice. They can click on the traditional worksheet. It has 25 questions, repetition, and then in Google Drawings, I have created one problem where they can actually graph on Google Drawings. And I know, Kathy, you know about Google Drawings. It's one of my favorite tools. But what I've asked them to do is actually graph on this. And then when they finish, their graph is going to make some kind of animal. And the answer to the question is, what kind of animal does it make? So what you do is you drag and drop the dots that I have right here by graphing and doing these 5 quick steps of reflections, and then it'll make something. And then I ask them just to screenshot it and upload it to Classroom for me. It's interesting, the kids want paper pencils sometimes, but when given a choice, all of my students choose the interactive graphing versus paper pencil. Which I find very interesting. And then my school, I'm mandated to loop my curriculum. So I came up with this super cool way of doing that. So I have 2 truths and a lie, be the teacher, and silent skill. So 2 truths and a lie is another Google form. That is live data number 4 or 5 now. And the Google form is just a simple question. And what I ask them to do is I ask them to look at a picture and determine, it'll load in just a second, and determine, I've given them 3 statements, and I've asked them to determine if it is, which one of them is a lie and why. So I want to make sure that they can choose statement 1, 2, or 3, but I also ask them to justify so that it will start the conversation of the constructed response questions for my state test. So we do the 2 truths and a lie. And then, of course, in math, we do error analysis. So I've given them a problem that's a mistake, and I'm asking them to correct it. And there's a text box right there that they can do that. And then I have silent skill. And this is a 30-second quick little video. It has no sound. It shows them how to do a problem just like this. And you'll see that the title of this is Translations. That's what I taught 2 days before Reflections, which is what I'm showcasing now. So it's a way of looping my content so that the students can't really forget those real important skills. And then, of course, I teach at BCHS. And so what I have is a quick little Google form of just what's bugging you. What is still bugging you about our lesson? Do you have any questions? And I have the Google add-on for it to email me if any students still have a question. I have my phone, I have my Apple Watch, and if somebody asks me a question, it comes straight to my watch. So without calling anybody out, I'll just answer the question as we're wrapping up for closing of our class. And then the last thing for one of my lessons is just a quick self-assessment. So again, I have my standard, I have my learning target. The first lesson that I ask my students to do is make a Bitmoji. And I ask them, instead of thumbs up or thumbs down, I give them to pull down their Bitmoji from the Google extension. And high school kids will really use the Bitmoji and tell me exactly how they feel about the lesson. And I've really learned to, I make decisions according to how they liked it or they didn't like it, if they're still questioning things. Each one of these is a little different, but I ask them to move the target to how they feel about it, and then I might ask them for a couple of questions. But that's just real fast, one complete lesson. And I have, my whole class is done like this. So if I pick another one, you'll see that my lessons, they all have those components, but they're all a little different in color and format. And I keep seeing my friend and I should tell you that I work with a great teacher. She was my student teacher last year. So I've taken a first-year teacher and I introduced her to Google, and she and I now teach geometry together, which is super cool. And so she and I have put our little Bitmoji together on all of our lessons. But you'll notice that this is the exact same thing. Thinkpairshare, and then there's a drag and drop if it'll load. But it's pretty much consistent with everything that I just showed you.
So I can't believe you've done all this work. This is amazing. So you have everything in a hyperdoc, and within your hyperdoc, you have different components.
Yes, ma'am.
The learning goal. In New Jersey, they call it learning goal. You call it learning target.
Right. Right.
your your teacher time, what you call your teacher time,
Right.
and then
Right.
your students do the work, and then they take the quiz or the reflection. It seems like you have it down pat, like all of these different components. Then your exit ticket, at the end, your reflection.
Right.
So every single unit has these components in your hyperdoc, and within
Yes,
your
ma'am.
hyperdoc, you're using Google Slides. You're not using Google Docs. So that's one thing that people should be aware of, that you can
Right.
use Slides as a hyper slide instead of a
Right.
hyperdoc. Slides
It's
are
interesting.
lot more. You can do a lot more with slides than you can with docs.
You can. It's interesting. Do you know why I do that in slides versus docs? I started off in docs, and I had a student who said, "Miss Moore, I don't know when I'm done with that. I need more of a, okay, move on to the next
Structure.
one." And so I decided to do it in slides. And you're right. I like slides much more than docs, with the videos and the interaction that I can do.
Yeah, and I like how you made your gifts in slides, and then you just linked it to your
Right.
lesson, which is all in slides. Like, you really transformed the way it's done, and you really put your trademark on it. Like, I can't believe that you've done all this work. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a lot of work. And then I'm sure, like, you have to make sure everything is organized in your drive, because
Right.
you have so many different files. You got the response sheet, you got the
Right.
forms, you got the videos. So everything in your drive has to be very organized, like a filing cabinet, or else you're probably
Right.
lost.
It is. It is. It's very organized. And the teacher that I was telling you about, you probably noticed on one of my Google Forms, there's actually 3 geometry teachers. My student teacher and I, she is learning to build and help me build some of the things. The other teacher, honestly, she thinks there's just this magical Google Drive button she just pulls all these great lessons out of, and she loves it because she teaches a lot of different preps, and so we just share it with her. And what's amazing is you can take a lesson like this with a teacher that doesn't have a lot of time, and they can use live data, and it is amazing for our test scores.
Yeah, because you're really monitoring everything right away.
Right,
You know,
right, right, right,
giving you back that
right.
data. And another thing I wanted to add to you also, I don't know if you're familiar with Jamboard.
You mentioned that to me before. I'm not sure.
You need to look into Jamboard, because are you using iPads or Chromebooks at your
We
school?
are using Chromebooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jamboard is accessible via the web, and there's an app for it.
Uh-huh.
And you can change the frame. They call it, think of it as a slideshow. So each
Right.
slide is called a frame in a Jamboard, and each file is a jam. Okay.
I
And
gotcha.
each frame you can change to graph paper, and the kids can graph right on it.
Oh, wow.
So you don't even need to use Google Drawings. You can
I
use
gotcha.
Jamboard, and then the kids can take that frame and they can save it as a PDF, or they can save it as an image. They can download it. They can put it right into your Google slide and show their work
Right,
that way. So
right.
it's just another way of graphing and
I gotcha.
showing work. Like, they can show their work, a multi-step process, through different frames of one jam.
I gotcha.
So
I
look into
gotcha.
that, because you may
I
find
will. I
that
wrote it
that's
down.
easier to
Yeah.
implement. I mean, and I noticed too, like with your forms, are you using an extension or an add-on to create your mathematical equations?
I am. I'm using Equatio.
Equation. That's what I thought.
Equatio, yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
what I thought.
I
And you're
am.
just creating the equation, and then you're copying the image right
Right.
into the question, right?
I am. I
Okay.
am. And basically now I'm stealing those from we have something called teacher notes for the test that I'm trying to get my students ready for. So I model those questions straight from that to try to encourage them to get to know the lingo and stuff of that.
Yeah, and I
Um,
like how you did that within, like, even the drag and drop feature that
right.
you do, because I know, like, in New Jersey they do the testing and the kids have to do the drag and drop,
They do.
you
They
know.
do. Right.
So that's good that you're doing that as well, because they
Right.
need to you know, even though they're high school, I'm in middle school. Sometimes
Right.
kids need extra practice on that stuff, you know?
Right. My kids love the drag and drops because even though they're not really self-corrective, they kind of will look and, I let my kids collaborate sometimes. So they'll just kind of glance over and, oh, why'd you do that? And it brings on a conversation. And I really, really enjoy that as well. I should also note, I didn't tell you this before, but if you'll let me share screens one more time with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. What I want to do is I want to show you that in Classroom, if you look at Classroom, and I'm just going to try not to show student data here, but if you click on one of my classes, you'll see that the instruction, you'll notice that I have instructions and I put the lesson and then I actually put a PDF of all the problems worked. And then this is actually a quick little video of the teacher time problem that I've actually done on the board, so that if a student misses it or comes in late, then they can kind of catch up pretty quickly. And what I found is that when students miss class, they really, really love that option because then they're not necessarily missing out. And what I found is actually we just had some kids come back from a beta club trip and they walk in my class. They've been gone for 3 days and they're right with everybody else because they've been using Google Classroom.
Yeah, because everything is there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the part that's nice about it, that
right.
you digitized all of your material, and I'm sure that took a long time. Like I could tell that
it did, but
it probably took you a good couple days or even a week or so or even more to actually create these resources, the videos. I mean, because I do hyperdocs for my kids, and sometimes I'm on it for hours and not even as extensive as what you just showed. So I can imagine the workflow. But
I think
in the end, I really believe, and I am a true believer of it, that if you invest the time in creating a digital workflow like you just showed, I really believe that you get that time back in the end somehow or another, whether it's with grading or feedback or, just anything that helps make your workflow more effective and more efficient. I really like, and I think that's why it's important. And I'm glad that you showed it because you are the prime example of high school math teacher.
Right.
And you totally took everything that you do and digitized it.
Right.
And you used Google tools. You didn't go out and you didn't buy any subscriptions. You didn't use any premium features. You're using Google Slides.
Right.
Google Forms. You're Google Sheets. You're using add-ons.
Right.
You're using extensions. And you actually are the prime example. So when I talk about people using math, you are the person that I am going to think of because the workflow that you just showcased is phenomenal. And I really think that it needs to be shared with other teachers. And I'm so glad that you came on today. And honestly, you need to look into Jamboard.
I have it written down. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Download it on your Apple phone.
I will. I definitely will.
Look into it. And if you have any questions about how to use it, let me know.
Yeah, I definitely will.
This will definitely help you. It not help you, but it'll help the students interact with graphing or even solving an equation. Or you can even create a template in Jamboard for different problems, and they can go in and solve it. It's just another app that they can use, and it would just work so nicely with your
I'm definitely going to be up all night checking that out. Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that you say that about math. I actually am married to a U.S. history teacher at our school, and I have done exactly what I just showed you with my class, with his class. And so he has, it's a little different because mine's all girlified and his is not, but it's amazing how well I do with my test scores and he does with his test scores. And the kids seem to love it. And it's so much better than, on the whiteboard, and it's, they're waiting on me. The best part about it is that I have never differentiated my classroom. Not one kid has to wait on another kid. And that's really why I wanted to do this.
And honestly, you're the like I said, you're an example. Like I just can't believe all of the work that you've done with this. And you said it, the kids love it. The kids
Right.
benefit from it. They can learn at their own pace. They can go back and reference the GIFs or the notes or
Right.
anything that you have in there. It's all available for them. So
Right.
realistically, they can learn at their own pace if they need to, you
That's
know.
right.
And that's what it's
That's
all about, you know. And then you're really giving them the control.
right.
They're in
And
control of their own learning, and you're
right.
at that point, you're the facilitator, and you're just stepping back, and you're just monitoring progress, and then you're there for support. But
Right.
kids that can excel, they can move on. So you are differentiating using technology, and the way you just did it was so clever. Like I am totally blown away right now.
Well,
And
I'm glad.
I'm so tired of hearing, I can't do that in my math class. I can't do that in my math class because, you know, they need to do pencil and paper. And, you know, I've spoke with other math teachers on the Sweet Talk, and they do a blended approach. Some people do
Right.
a blended approach. Some people, and that's great too, as long as you're using and
Right.
implementing some type of technology. But to not to not include it is not good either, because you're really putting the kids, um, you know, at a disadvantage to a certain degree.
Right.
That's just my opinion, but that's how I feel. I know, like I said, I know it's a lot of work to get all that in there, but I really think that it's definitely worth it in the end.
Right.
The end
And
pays off.
right. And it's interesting that every semester, I keep thinking, okay, it's perfect. And then I keep coming up with these better ideas and I keep adding to it. And everything that I add, I just feel like it makes it better and better. So I'm all about each semester. We just started another semester and I've already got other things I want to add to it. So
Yeah, and you know what? Now you made me want to change my hyperdocs to hyperslide.
nice. That's great. Yeah.
So it's all good. That's why I do this show, so we could all learn from each
Right.
other and hopefully help somebody else along the way too.
Right. Exactly.
So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. So don't you leave.
Okay.
Okay, you stay on. Okay, I'm just
Okay.
going to wrap up the show real quick. So I am going to share my screen. Alrighty, so if you would like to be a guest on the Sweet Talk, you can visit my website at, hold on, let me get situated here, at bit.ly/the Sweet Talk website. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, bit.ly/the Sweet Talk channel, and you can always email me if you have any questions or if you'd like to be on the show or anything to regarding the show, you can email me. I'm also available on as a podcast on Podbean and Google Play Music. And you can subscribe to those things on my website on the subscribe channel or the subscribe page, my YouTube newsletter, and Podbean. Google Play Music. And also, if you'd like to be a guest, most importantly, on my show, you can click on the guest page and just fill out this Google form for me, and I will email you back as soon as I can. It's great that I have so many people that want to be on my show right now. I am scheduling for April right now. So I just can't believe like how the response to this has been, and I'm just so thankful for the viewers and the guests that want to be on and sharing their, you know, their love for education and their passion for their students and technology. And that's really what it's all about, is just paying it forward. So until next time, I will see you again. Thank you for tuning in and have a great night. Bye.